Is North Korea really ready to start a war with the United States? Ooh, teachers in public schools to carry guns? Sex and obscenity in the Bible? Take our Easter quiz. And what does it say in the Bible? Do you know? This and more next on the Free Thought Forum. Good evening and welcome to the Free Thought Forum. Today, April the 25th of the year of our Lord, 2017. Brought to you by the friendly folks at the PA Non-Believers. Hi, I'm Doug, your host for tonight, aka Dastardly Doug, and we hope that you'll enjoy the show. I would like you to note the empty chair on my right. 5,283 days ago, we issued an open invitation to Jesus to join us on our show and explain why 99% of the good Christians on earth that believe they are a sure bet for making it to heaven are in for a big surprise. So far, he has not showed up, but we do keep a chair warm for him, and since he's been silent for so long, his throat could be dry, and we put some honey lemon cough drops for him to soothe his throat. Now, please remember that this is a live phone-in show where you and the millions and millions of viewers can get a chance to call us and express your views and ask questions. The number should be up on your screen right now, 846-5067, and that's in the 717 area code. Now, an archive or copy of most of the past Free Thought Forum shows can also be viewed on the PAN section of YouTube. Now, the address you look for, of course, is https www.youtube.com, then a /user, USER, /PA Non-Believers, all one word, and hit return. And you will see all the shows that we have archived, plus a few other things too. Some of our, some other guests we've had, and also of the show. Oh, what's the last one we had, Jim?
The last show or the last conference?
Last conference.
Last conference was in Pittsburgh, I think, because we skipped the conference last year because there was so much going on. We had the Reason Rally and some other things, but yeah, our 2015 conference and some of the shows from 2014 will also be on that YouTube channel. Okay, back to you, Doug.
Okay, that's good, but it's an interesting page to go to on YouTube, and you get a lot more information about us. So, how do you feel about that Kim Jong-un in North Korea? Do you think that, in my opinion, nutcase would actually start a shooting war with America? Would China just stand by and let Kim Jong-un possibly start World War III? Yeah, I know that China is North Korea's best friend and stands behind them. But kind of picture this. Right now, there is a fleet of warships, US warships, right in firing range of North Korea. Plus, an American nuclear sub is just hiding just below the waterline off the coast somewhere and is waiting for Kim Jong to just blink. Now, these are really, really dangerous times that we live in. And, if someone goes off half-cocked or sneezes or blinks, we really could start another World War III. But rather than starting another world war, what if China decided that it might change sides? And it would be the most prudent thing to do and to nip Kim Jong's aspirations in the bud and have them blow North Korea's missiles out of the sky, thereby claiming calming America's trigger finger. So what do you think? Would China help the U.S. and attack its own ally? Call and tell me what you think. Like I said, I think the number is coming up on the screen. Give us your opinion. Myself, I think that at this point, things are so precarious that almost anything can happen. And none of the big countries, especially like China or Russia, are really comfortable with starting a war, another war at this time, especially if it's a nuclear war. Because all but really insane people know that you really can't win a nuclear war. Everyone is a loser. But Kim Jong seems to have another opinion. Now, it could be that, remember old Saddam Hussein? He was a master of brinkmanship. He used to walk right up to the edge with his toes on the line and tell everyone that he was going to have the mother of all wars. And he was ready to push the button, pull the trigger. But he never really did. But he got everyone on edge, and they call it brinkmanship. So you never ever know whether or not he is going to step just one toe across the line. And that's the trouble when you have dictators like in North Korea's Kim Jong-il. He's unpredictable. And we pretty much know that you would have to have a pretty significant event to promote Russia or China to start new hostilities within the. You can't just say new hostilities. You have to say World War III, a nuclear war. Like I said, everyone except Kim Jong seems to know that, but, well, most of the people don't think that he's playing with a full deck anyway. So our lines are open. You can call and tell me what you think. Isn't he a handsome fellow? Yeah. Okay. I saw in the news the other day that teachers in public schools wanted to carry guns. And think about that for a second. The rationale behind it is that if teachers carry guns, or they have guns available to them in the schools, in colleges, it doesn't matter what it is, that it would help deter some of the violence and the shootings that they've had in schools in recent time. But really, give it a thought here. Where would you keep a gun in school? I mean, would you really let the teachers carry their own guns into school? That's a very, very slippery slope. I've also heard that some people say that if they were to approve something like this, that they would have a locker that they could keep guns in, that only the teachers could access. But you know as well as I do, you can't hide anything from kids. I mean, think back to when you was a kid. Could your parents ever really hide anything from you? You knew where everything was. You knew how the heck to get to things that they put out of reach, like that. You knew all about your daddy's porn collection, where he stored it, where he hid it. He thought that he hid it, but kids can always figure out a way to get around stuff like this. I know as a kid there was nothing that was safe from me. I mean, I knew where everything was and how to get to everything, and you could put chains around something and chain it to a concrete block, and I'd figure out a way to get to it. Now, of course, that really has helped me in my adult life, because it makes me a good detective and a troubleshooter, and I've spent basically my whole career being a detective and solving other people's problems that they couldn't solve themselves, and got to see a lot of the U.S. By doing that. I think that I have actually visited 38 of the 48 continental states in the continental United States. It was great. But, sorry, I digress. You know that if a school has a locker or a lockup or an armory or something like that, kids would figure out a way to get into it. So do you really want to have a lockbox for guns? Another one, you may think, well, how about if we have like private security guards, off-duty cops that have got a gun, and they will help protect the students against any terrorism acts. But if I was a terrorist and I intended to go and shoot up a school, what is the first thing that I would do? I would go in with my guns hidden, and I'd look for the security guard, the man with a gun, and I'd try to take them out first. What are they going to do? Are they going to have a whole police force in every school? Can you imagine the billions and billions of dollars that would actually cost? And it may sound cold and heartless, but when you come right down to it, how many lives really have been lost that would warrant this kind of expense of billions and billions of dollars? So you kind of have to roll the dice and say, well, we got to do something to help protect our kids. Well, maybe, how about bulletproof doors on the schoolrooms that could be locked? There's so many possibilities here, but in my opinion, I think that teachers carrying guns in public schools is sort of inviting a shootout at the OK Corral, where maybe more people would be victims than otherwise. But what do you think? Do you think that we should have guns in school? How about if what we do now, we put in every classroom, "In God we trust"? Maybe trusting in God is going to stop someone coming in with a gun. Maybe putting up the 10 Commandments will make someone think twice. Probably not, because there are more religious nuts out there than people that are religious and want to stop them. So, anyway, let's give this some more thought. Do you want guns in schools? Do you want 10 Commandments up on the wall as protection, so everyone knows what the heck is wrong? Give me a call and let me know. Join in the discussion. Now, for you people that observed Easter, we have a little thing which we call the Easter quiz. And what we like to do in a few minutes, maybe, is give you a quiz, and it's got 18 questions on it about Easter and the resurrection. And like I said, it's 18 questions, and the answers will be out of the Bible. So we're not going to. It's not going to be any atheist lies or anything. You can read it because we will give you the correct answer. But how many do you think that you can name? Okay. Now, myself, I celebrated Easter actually by myself, but I had a very good meal that I guess kind of reminded me of Jesus in a way. I had a nice lamb roast, and every time I see a picture of Jesus, I think of a rack of lamb. But I suppose for Christians that really isn't the intended theme of it. But I will tell you that it was a very delicious flesh of the lamb. So let's ask some questions here. Question number 1. They first came to the tomb on Sunday morning. One woman, A. B. Two women. C. Three women. Or D. More than 3 women that first came to the tomb on Sunday morning. Second question. She or they came while it was still dark, or it came after the sun had risen. The women or the woman came to the tomb to anoint the body of Jesus with spices. Or they came to the tomb just to look at it and make sure he was still there. Now, the next one sort of gives you an idea of the answer of the previous question here. The woman had obtained the spices on A, Friday before sunset, or B, after sunset on Saturday. Think about it for a second. We'll go over these again. The first visitor was or were greeted by an angel. Or were they greeted by a young man, according to the Bible? Or was it 2 men? Or were the first visitors greeted by no one? Question 6. The greeters, or greeter, was sitting on the stone outside of the tomb. B, he was sitting inside the tomb. They were, C, were standing inside the tomb. Now, after finding the tomb empty, the woman or women ran to tell the disciples. Or did they run away and said nothing to anyone? Question 8. The risen Jesus first appeared to A, Mary Magdalene alone, Cleopas and another disciple, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, and or to Cephas or Peter alone. Think about those. Like I said, we'll go over them again. The disciples were to see Jesus first in A, Galilee, or B, in Jerusalem. Question 10. Jesus first appeared, A, somewhere between the tomb and Jerusalem. Or he first appeared just outside the tomb. Or he appeared in Galilee, some 80 miles north of Jerusalem. On the road to Emmaus, the road to Emmaus, and E, we are not told where Jesus first appeared. This is only 8 more questions, so bear with us here. The disciples that were told that they would meet the risen Jesus in Galilee by the woman who had been told by the angel of the Lord, then by Jesus himself after the resurrection, or by Jesus himself before the crucifixion. 12. The risen Jesus wanted to be touched. B. The risen Jesus did not want to be touched. And the risen Jesus did not mind being touched. He didn't have any kind of, fetish about being touched, as some people, they just don't like to be. Jesus ascended into heaven. Number one, the same day he was resurrected. 40 days after the resurrection, we are not told that he is about to ascend to heaven at all. Almost there. The disciples received the Holy Spirit 50 days after the resurrection. In the beginning of the same day as the resurrection. Now, these are all things that you should know about Easter. If you're celebrating Easter, these are supposedly simple questions. 15. The risen Jesus was recognized by those who saw him, or those that saw him, he was not always recognizable. The risen Jesus was physical. B, he was not physical. He was an apparition. The risen Jesus was seen by disciples, presumably only once, or first by 2 of them and later by all 11. Or he was seen 3 times by the disciples, or he was seen many times by the disciples. And here we go, the very, very last one. When Jesus appeared to the disciples, there were 11 of them. Or there was 12 of them. Now think about those for a second. First question, the first to come to the tomb on Sunday morning. Who was to come to the first tomb on I can't talk. It's also very small writing on this. When did they come to the tomb? Why did they come to the tomb? Had they obtained spices? On what day? The first visitors at the tomb were greeted by who? The greeters were sitting on the stone outside of the tomb, or was sitting inside the tomb, or standing inside the tomb. Surely you know that. After finding the tomb empty, what did the women do? The risen Jesus first appeared to whom? The disciples were to see Jesus first in what city? Jesus first appeared to them. Where? The disciples that were told they would meet the reason, the disciples were told that they would meet the risen Jesus in Galilee. By who? The risen Jesus, well, did he want to be touched or not? Jesus ascended into heaven. When? Disciples received, the disciples received the Holy Spirit. When? The risen Jesus, who recognized him? The risen Jesus was an apparition, or was he physical? The risen Jesus was seen by disciples how many times? When Jesus appeared to the disciples, how many were there? Were there 11 of them, or was there 12 of them? Don't forget, one killed himself. Do we need to remind you who? Now, all the answers that I gave you, there to all 18 questions, can be found in the Bible. The King James version is the best. I haven't reviewed them in all the different forms of the Bible, or different other than the King James Bible. But what is you might want to just get a pencil to check me out and make sure that another lying atheist isn't feeding you, phony information. But of all the questions that I gave you and the possible answers, there are contradictions that can be found in the Bible. Question 1. Who first came to the tomb on Sunday morning? Woo, one woman. Well, that's found in John 20, verse 1. 2 women. That's found in Matthew 28, verse 1. 3 women. Mark 16, verse 1. And more than 3 women. Luke 23 through 55, 56, and 24, verses 1 through 10. All of the answers that I gave you, contradictory answers, can be found in the King James Version of the Bible. So when you're listening to your preacher on Sunday morning, or Easter Sunday.
Last Sunday morning, yeah.
Last Sunday morning. If he mentioned the story of Easter, what answers did he give you to the question? Now, it's obvious that you can still read the Bible, which they say is 100% true and unerring. So why do you have all these different questions, all these different answers to the same question at different parts of the Bible? Now, I'm not going to go through all of these because I already gave you all the possible answers. But see, all of them, all of the answers to all of the questions that I gave you are in the Bible. Now, as a for instance, when Jesus, the last one, when Jesus appeared to the disciples, according to Matthew 28, 16 and 17, wow, there were 11 of them. Luke says there was 12 of them. And I don't know what else was said, I can't remember, but in 1 Corinthians 15, verse 5. One of these days, if I remember it in future episodes, this little document right here, Easter quiz. Oh, I suddenly realized that this is almost green and can't really be seen. But it gives you all the questions, all the possible answers, and it gives you all of the Bible verses, the Bible locations that give all of the answers.
Doug?
Yes, sir.
We're going to try and have a limited number of those available on Mother's Day. We always have a table on Mother's Day on the Old York Street Fair, and we'll try and have some of those available for individuals to look at and research if they wish. Just depends on how many we can get copied off.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. In the past, we've had a couple of these pamphlets down at the Mother's Day booth that we have. I guess I'll have to make it a point of printing up some of these so people can read it. In the past, people have come, supposedly religious people, and took the quiz. And a lot of them were so doggone amazed that what they thought they knew was the true answer really was just one of many, depending upon how you cherry pick the Bible. Now, like I said, the old the ye old York Street Fair, which will be on Mother's Day. Yeah, I think I just said that. And in the past, we have been down at we've assigned the space at the corner of Beaver Street and Market Street. We're on a corner there. Usually, if you can smell French fries, we're close by, because one of the vendors sets up right beside where we are. So if you're there hungry for knowledge, come to our booth. If you're hungry for French fries, then go 10 feet further up Market Street.
Also, Mother's Day is on the 14th of May.
14th of May, okay.
So I think the second Saturday in May, or second Sunday in May. Yeah.
Okay. And of course, we hope that everyone does enjoy Mother's Day. For us, it is it's a good tabling event for us. We get a lot of visitors. The first year that we did it, there wasn't such a warm reaction, although we did get a number of people that thanked us for showing up and letting people know that there were more of those evil atheists all around them that they didn't know up until that time. We enjoy having a discussion. If someone wants to discuss any particular subject, religious subject, or heck, we'll talk about Trump from the tax cuts. We don't care. We'll just interact, because when it comes right down to it, atheists are just like everyone else. Atheists are just like Christians or Jews and Islam. We have all the same worries, all the same problems like that, and basically under the skin we're all the same, whether you believe in God or not. And it really doesn't matter whether or not that you believe in God, or if you think that there is a God, or what God that there is. I mean, let's face it, some people think that there are other gods, and that's fine if they want to believe that. We don't want to twist their arm and tell them that they don't. They got foolish views, or they're mistaken. But if you're interested and wanted to know about where atheists are coming from, where we get our views, what our views are, and what our views are on taxes, our children, the cost of living, you'll see that it's very much like us. All of the people are. We're just a part of humanity. Unfortunately, we're a part of humanity that a lot of the people don't wish to acknowledge, and tend to demonize us. But we don't go out and eat babies. We don't kill club to death seals, and skin them like that. You walk down the street and you could pass dozens of atheists and never ever know. And it doesn't really matter whether or not you call yourself an atheist, an agnostic, really anything. Now, myself, I sometimes will call myself an agnostic deist, because I think, well, look, I can't say with any degree of certainty that the biblical God does not exist. The biblical God doesn't make sense to me. To me, it's kind of silly the way that man has invented God. So I say, well, okay, just in case that there is or was a God out there that created the universe, well, I'm certainly not going to know anything about it. He certainly isn't going to talk to me, and I very much doubt that he's going to that he has talked to anyone in the past, although many people, of course, think that they hear the voice of God. But fortunately, in today's world, they invented a drug called lithium, and people no longer hear God talking to them or telling them to do all kinds of nasty things to their fellow man. So let's just say that I'm an agnostic deist. Do I know how God created the universe? I haven't a clue. Is it really important to me? No, because when I die, I'm really don't believe I'm going anywhere. I go no place when I die. And I'm pretty sure that if there's a pearly gates, that I'm not going to be given a pop quiz at the time. So it becomes immaterial. I may just as well say, well, okay, I'm an atheist. Sometimes I'll say that just to make people cringe a little bit or get some sort of reaction out of them. It's kind of fun to do it at times, but other times it's not really worth announcing you're an atheist or you're a non-believer, because the only thing that you're going to get is if someone is going to disagree with you and say, no, your views are not valid. Of course there's a God. Of course there is Jesus. Of course there is something else. There are angels and devils and everything else. Fine. That's what you believe. But there is no way whatsoever, or as I say, no way in hell, that I can convince you or anyone else about the existence of God. So all talk on the subject is a moot. It really is a moot point. So you kind of got to live and let live. Let the people who believe in religion, whatever religion it's in, to have their way, to believe what they want to believe, so long as they don't harm other people by their beliefs. And they don't try to inflict their beliefs and their values on me or other atheists. Like I said, most atheists, they kind of keep it to themselves. Of course, there are exceptions, like myself and Jim, our technical director here, and all the other people, and I should say the thousands of people here in central PA who you never thought was an atheist or non-believer probably are. But it isn't really worth our time or trouble to go pounding down the street, walking down the street with our signs and saying, no God but God. Allah is the one and only God. Whatever it is, it's not worth our trouble to contradict it. But we do have tabling events throughout the summer months, starting on Mother's Day. I think once we had one before Mother's Day, as I recall, a year or so ago. But that is when we come out, we set up our booth on Market Street at the corner of Beaver, and we have all our pamphlets, hopefully including this Easter quiz one, and we have various other tracts that are there, like an X-rated book, the Bible, and sex and obscenity in the Bible. People say, well, there's no such thing, isn't that X-rated Bible? Yeah, yes, there is. If you want to read it yourself, but of course, in Bible school, in Sunday school, they won't teach you about the nasty, we call them the nasty things. Well, I'm not going to read all of it, but we have these little tracts at our table, and we'll have it there on the first and succeeding other ones on Mother's Day, and you can read all about a drunken whore is stripped, eaten, and burned. You know. Now you might say, well, oh, we can't have something like that. But, you know, as Thomas Paine wrote in his classic book, The Age of Reason, any system of religion that has anything in it that shocks the mind of a child cannot be a true system. Paine also observed that whenever we read the obscene stories and the voluptuous debaucheries, the cruel and torturous executions, the unrelenting vindictiveness with which the Bible, half the Bible is filled, and it would be more consistent if we called it the word of a demon rather than the word of God. And it is a history of wickedness that has served to corrupt and brutalized mankind. Now, is there anything else, people, you would like to talk about? If so, give us a scream at 846-5067. Okay, and we're kind of running it down. Time is running low now. We have about 6 or 7 minutes left. I kind of left a little bit here, hoping we'd get some calls, but please keep in mind that this is a live broadcast, and you can talk to us, and you can give us your opinions, ask us questions. You can even suggest a subject to talk about on the show. Jim, do you have anything more that you'd like to add, or wish the heck that I deleted?
No, a comment on the last show we had. A caller called in and talked just a short time about another subject that we hadn't even gotten anywhere near, really. And we spent the rest of the show discussing that subject. So call-ins have a great deal of influence on what we talk about, and heck, maybe they can even tell us that we're wrong. Just don't quote the Bible to tell us we're wrong, because that's your book, not ours. But I really don't have anything to say, except up on the screen now is we're talking about our monthly meetings, and we're sort of going through those now. And we have, I believe, 5 monthly meetings in different communities in York and Lancaster. Lebanon's up now. Harrisburg, which is more Lemoyne than Harrisburg downtown, of course, and even Chambersburg. But we've got all those coming up. And one last mention has to go that we have another conference coming up on the 13th and 15th of October this year. We call them our PastaCons, which is PA State Humanist Atheist Conference. It's on your screen right now. And we have national and even international people that come and speak to those. and we even have comedians. We've had singers. So it's been very impressive. It's a 3-day conference, obviously, starting on Friday the 13th. So we'll kick that off with a I never get this right. Tridecaphobia something or other, which basically means
yeah.
Yeah. You might know it. I don't know how to say that, but anyway, that's about it. And hopefully the people will come back and view our next thing. And one last thing. I know I promised one last thing before, but
okay, Columbo.
yeah. The up on the screen now, we have our shows, our past shows on the YouTube channel that we have, as well as some of our past conference speakers can also be found on that same channel. Okay, Doug, I'm going to give it back to you now. It's all yours, and we've got 3.5 minutes.
Okay. So, I see in the also in the news there some schools are again trying to insert signs saying "In God We Trust" in public schools, and also put the 10 Commandments plaques up and monuments. Of course, there were many other lawgivers out there, the Code of Hammurabi, and which is I believe it was like 283 commandments. So the Christians trying to sum it all up in just 10 brief commandments left a lot to be interpreted in different ways. And of course, we always interpret things in the ways that we think are for our own benefit and for the people that we know that agree with us. So it's just like in the United States and everywhere else in the world, we have all these people that are are going to vote, hopefully going to vote for someone, for the president or for some office. But of course, not everyone thinks alike, and no one seldom gets a landslide. And as I was noticing on some of the CBS nightly news, the international news, they have got I guess the equivalent of a female Donald Trump running for president. And like Donald Trump, they a lot of people ruled him out. Well, now they're down to just like with Trump. It's a runoff election, and she is part of it. And she wants to get rid of immigration and cut back this. So we've got Trump version 2 over in France. So anyway, I think we're bringing it to the end. Don't forget to tune in for our next show, the second Tuesday in the month of May, and be at the same bat time, same bat channel.